I focus really well on buildings. There are roofs, there are windows, there's foundations, there's electrical, mechanical, there's parking lots, there's roads, there's storm drainage, there's a lot of things. And these systems are ingrained into me from the first day that I started working on buildings when I was 15.
This is Advocate Craft, the podcast that talks about the stuff they don't teach in law school. Hey everybody, I'm Sean Vincent. Thanks for joining the podcast today. I have the pleasure of introducing you to an old friend and mentor of mine. His name is Greg Trotter. He is the founder of Commercial Building Consultants. He's been working on buildings and studying buildings since he was 15 years old. He spent an entire career in construction and construction management before he struck it out on his own as an independent building consultant. Now, later in his career, he is being called upon by litigators to be an expert witness, a testifying witness in civil litigation that has at its heart disputes over construction issues. I think he is great as both an expert witness and a testifying witness. You'll get to hear him speak in a minute. I asked him where he gets, how he establishes his credibility and authority when he's working on these cases, and he tells me that he just tells it like it is. Part of his job is to give bad news, but also to pay tribute to where there are strengths in a case, show the weaknesses, but do it in a matter-of-fact way, in an evidence-based way. I asked him how he communicates the technical aspects of his job to the lawyers he works with, and then ultimately to juries. And I love what he said. He says that he relies on people's five senses. Everyone's got five senses, and he tries to break down the evidence that he finds into tangible aspects that everyone can identify with. You'll get a taste of that in my conversation today with my friend Greg Trotter of Commercial Building Consultants. Thanks for listening. Greg, I've never in my entire life heard somebody talk about a building with as much joy and excitement as I've heard you talk about a building. What makes you excited about buildings?
We need them. We live in them. We eat in them. It's really something that for some reason my brain works well with, and I understand them internally. I've taken them apart, put them together, built them, put them on paper, and then brought them out of the ground. I've moved them. I've moved buildings. I think that it's the one thing that I feel like really comfortable that I have a total understanding of. And it took me 68 years to get to where I'm at today to figure this out, but it's my thing. So I deal with people, right, to talk about buildings and talk about what they're acquiring or talk to them about their problems, but it's really about the building. And I need concentration, Sean. I need to really have an idea of where I'm supposed to be focusing. And I focus really well on buildings. There are roofs, there are windows, there's foundations, there's electrical, mechanical, there's parking lots, there's roads, there's storm drainage, there's a lot of things. And these systems are ingrained into me from the first day that I started working on buildings when I was 15 years old. Yeah, I worked on my neighbor bought a warehouse building for $65,000. It was an 1880s warehouse building with the big steam stack, that everybody could see in town. No one would buy this thing except for my neighbor. And he needed something to get him out of the house on weekends. So he'd pick up Greg and we'd go to the warehouse.
And you worked on it, you helped fix it up, make it
right
again.
Yeah.
So anything remarkable from that experience that sets
yes.
you off on this lifetime?
Oh,
go for it.
I think so. It's because, a lot of people are intimidated by old buildings for some reason, right? But that building, it was 1880s. I worked on several other historic buildings in my life, but I bought, mistakenly, 1857 farmhouse with barn, with pond, well, septic system that failed. And I think that that's probably everything around me was needed help. And I was the one to stand up. And if I wanted to live in this house, I had to make it work. If um, I found that I was really lost after college as to what I was supposed to do. Um, I thought I was going to be the amazing Mr. Business guy. But fortunately, in, I was hired by a firm called TB Penick and Sons. It's now a 145-year-old company. And I got a job with them in San Diego. And I'm still affiliated with them to this day. They gave me the opportunity to I was right in the midst of the engineering, landscape. The building I was in was dynamic. There was a lot of things, ideas going through there, a lot of teams were going through there. And I was in
Mhm.
the midst of that, doing takeoffs and estimating and running bids and helping various crews. And so out of college, I was lost. I didn't know. I think many people are, right? They
Sure.
go, "Hey, I have a degree. I'm just amazing." But you know what? No one responded to that shot. No one said, "Oh, sign this contract." What? So I had to find this job, or it found me, and from there on, again, I'm still affiliated with my very first employer, and they have me listed as a senior project manager for them right here in Florida, and we're looking at uh, tower projects and so forth to this day. And I'm their Florida guy. So I guess I just got lucky. I got very lucky because if you're in buildings and into parking lots and doors and windows and that sort of thing, then everything is interesting around you. So I'm standing in an office. It's got drop ceilings, lights, windows. A lot can go wrong here, and I'm surrounded by a lot of interesting things, and I don't have to look for it. It's here, and I know everything about this building, how it was built, how these systems work, and how they can fail.
So
So
you've mentioned systems now maybe 3 or 4 times, and I
yes,
love that because when I look at a building, I see a building, and when you look at a
yeah.
building, it seems to me that you immediately see a network of systems that are working together.
There's actually 16 systems,
Okay.
and so what we're going to start with is like the site is a system, and the site has subsystems like site drainage, storm drainage, um, sanitary sewer, water coming into it, and all the aspects of that. Then we go to once we get through the site, we have concrete. There's always concrete, like concrete foundations, sidewalks, that sort of thing. And we go through various systems: HVAC, electrical, mechanical, um, framing, steel. So we have a number in our head. When I'm looking at a window, that's a Division 7, I know I've got the brain is divided this building into 16 different portions and systems. And so the HVAC system in your house is a system, electrical
Hmm.
system, roof system. See how that flows really well? It's a roof system.
Yes. Yes.
Framing,
Yeah. I had a
sheathing,
roofer at my house who told me, pointed out things that I'd never seen that have been there forever.
right. So
Yeah. So
it's
go ahead.
easy. I think that's, to be honest with you, I'm not going to ever be a brain scientist, but I'm really passionate about these systems, and I know what goes wrong with them. And I'm the crazy guy that people call up when their system of whatever it may be fails. And we've so what I've been doing in my life, my specialty. Why the hell am I
Hmm.
here? Why does commercial building consultancy even exist? What's Greg Trotter do? Is people find me when they have a problem with the building. We do a lot of owners representative work, meaning Sean Vincent wants to build the Vincent building, high rise,
Right.
whatever, with special systems. But you're a lot of things, but you're not me. And I watch as this thing is built, and I represent you. I'm your bodyguard to make sure the thing is happening on time, on schedule. I look at the draws for the work to be done. And
Okay.
if I see problems with safety, workmanship, whatever, I'm gonna protect you because you're in California working in uh, San Diego. I'm going to be there on a sporadic basis, monitoring what's going on, and we do that a lot. In fact, we just started a $20 million owners representation renovation up in Jacksonville. Think about the risk, right? But there's one,
Sure.
they need a bodyguard, and I'm their bodyguard for that project to make sure things are happening as they're supposed to, on time, on budget, and be able to handle disputes that will eventually happen between contractor and whatever, maybe even me, But
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I do.
So, and when you're working on a big project like that, a multi-million dollar project, you just said that you anticipate that there can and will be disputes. And
Yes,
that brings us to sort of this late stage career thing that you've started, and that is you're working with law firms who are representing clients who have disputes over things that have gone wrong with a building, whether it's the building or the people associated with it, right?
correct. So in fact, in some cases, I actually resolve disputes between, say, the contractor and the subcontractor. I will do a mediation, if you will, between them. I will help when an owner has the information, a report that says that your property is a castle, and they actually write it on a piece of their report and take pictures and say, and then they turn the key, open the door to their new acquisition, and it's hardly a castle. It's just the opposite. And there was multitudes of things that were missed in the course of doing their due diligence when they were working for a client to say, yes, you've bought yourself a castle. And who wouldn't want to? Would you even blink if I could sell you a castle and you say, well, it's got stone, concrete. It's just, if a missile hit this thing, according to the report, it would bounce off it. Nothing close to the truth. I do a lot of distressed work with lawyers. They need someone to go out there, be a quick study, and say what's going on with it, as far as if it's coming back to the bank, if there's some dispute between the contractor and the owner, or whatever. So regularly, all the time, got a call yesterday for one in Oakland where we need to be out there and document, A, it's coming back to the bank, and B, there's been a insurance claim for water damage because someone decided to do pull-ups on a sprinkler head or something. I don't know.
Right.
So we need to, with authority, report what we see and do a declaration to the court and to the lawyers and to the owner of what's really going on out there, because they don't know. They could walk around and they bump into a wall or something, but they really need to know what's going on.
You said with authority, and I think authority is a synonym for credibility. Where does the authority come from when you put documentation together, Greg?
Well, my eyes, my ears, and being in the business since I was, before I could drive, 15. 15. Yeah. So again, I think that, and I know what a lawyer is looking for, and you have to have visual evidence. You have to put together the report accordingly to break down and document what is going on out there. So you do not have to leave your office, Mr. Lawyer, and see what is going on or not going on. Are the windows broken? Has there been water damage inside? I was in a job in Riverside recently, California, and where there are broken windows, broken doors. There's people that had cut pipes, and so all of a sudden there had to be water damage occurring as a result of the broken pipes. But I did give the owner the credit of doing a really good job at remediating that water damage, right? No mold, no this, no that. You have to be fair and accurate. I don't take sides. The side is the proof. Yeah. You just have to really be thorough, accurate, and have a good reputation that this guy's going to tell you the truth. And sometimes people don't like the truth, but I'm the one that has to report it. And when I say we've got a problem here and it's significant, I've got to be able to support it with facts, pictures, and documentation.
Essentially, when you're an expert in litigation, you're being relied upon sometimes as a consulting expert, where you do your work, you produce reports, and you're communicating to the litigation team facts that they just don't have the expertise to know. And you have to communicate with them so that they understand, so they know what they're dealing with in their case. And then when things go far enough, you might be deposed by the other side. You may even testify at trial before a jury at some point, and then you've got to then communicate your expertise even more to the layman, right?
Correct.
And so it is a rare find, I think, to find someone who's both a good consulting expert and a good testifying expert. One of the reasons I was excited to talk to you is I think that you're both. And tell me a little bit about how you go about communicating your lifetime's worth of knowledge in looking at buildings to folks who don't, like me, know anything about them.
Well, it's kind of fun. So let's use the example of the acquisition that was a $5 million loss. You do have to teach the lawyer a lot about whatever you do in your work, and teach them, prepare them for the case, prepare them for interviewing the other side's participants in the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is I use simple things. I said, well, it's supposedly a concrete wall. And so I tell my lawyer, knock on a drywall wall, and do you hear that sound? Is that a stone wall? Is that a concrete wall? Or is it a drywall? And they get it. They go, oh, yeah, it should sound a lot different. And you should be able to, you, Sean Vincent, can tell if that's a stone wall or if it's a drywall
Right.
a wall. Watch this. The attorney was a woman in West Palm Beach. Probably has high heels, I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. I made an assumption there.
She may have had experience with high heels.
Yeah. So when you walk on a floor,
mm-hmm.
a concrete floor, does it sound different than a wood floor? Oh, yeah. So the people walking and doing an assessment of a building have 5 senses, and you have to use all 5. And so when you walk on a wood floor in high heels, it sounds a lot different. So I prepared her deposition with the people that had done the investigation on the false findings report.
Yeah.
I taught her how to differentiate so she could see and understand, to communicate to the jury, and even just to depose the people that had done the work. What's that? One of the other things that's really important is where are the hot spots for me, for Greg Trotter, for where problems probably are. They're in attics, they're in electrical panels, they're in crawl spaces. So the lawyer didn't know what a crawl space was. I've had 4 houses with crawl spaces, so I explained to her that there's a whole wood frame system underneath the building, and you actually can crawl underneath the building and look at your wood framing system, your plumbing, electrical, a lot of things. And in this case, there were holes in the floor that wasn't concrete, but wood and plywood. And you could see down, and there would be holes that you put your flashlight down and you could see dirt. Crawl spaces, the floor of a crawl space is dirt, right? And that's it. Or maybe poly over it or whatever. So you teach people in just simple elementary. It's like talking to your 5-year-old son, right? It get them to simply understand that it was clearly evident that X, Y, and Z are the facts.
Yeah.
They put on the report on the report. The cover page of the report had a picture of the roof. Well, just the Google Earth picture of the roof would make you run fast. But then we talk about what we were looking at in some of the pictures and so forth. There was a lift station. It's required by the ASTM standards that guide me to do my work, that you have to report that there's a lift station and who's responsible for maintaining it and what condition it's in. They had a picture of a lift station, but we found in Discovery in their pictures when they were there on the site, but it never made it into the report. It's a requirement. It's an absolute, very important system, because all the sewer water comes to this lift station and it gets sent into the municipal sanitary sewer system. So there were numerous items, and all you do is you have to think like the juror. You have to think about the public walking around on the sidewalks and try and translate to them something that they can grasp and hold. And some people, of course, have houses with crawl spaces. Some people know how critical some of these systems are.
Mm-hmm.
So you teach the lawyer to teach the jurors and the judge and so forth how you could have done this if you're walking around a building doing what I do.
Sure. And what I love what you said there is that everyone's got their five senses.
Mm-hmm.
And when people become suspicious of the credibility of an expert, or they're looking at a big document that has fancy words that they don't understand, they are like me, they don't really know what a lift station is, just that it probably has something to do with poop. Then going back to the senses, because what I find is when people don't know what to trust, they trust their experiences, and their experiences are built by their sensory impressions of that, and that's how you turn something technical into something palatable.
Exactly. I walked into a stairwell last week in Lithia,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what I smell? Okay, smell olfactory, very good for mold and smoke. I walked into a stairwell and I said, "There's been a fire here," and everybody else is like, "What are you talking about?" There has been a fire here, and you can smell it right at the bottom of the stairwell. There had been a kitchen fire there a year or two ago,
Okay.
and you have to. These are great attributes we have as human beings. Use them, and it's almost like cheating. It's too easy. There's been a fire. There's been a fire here. Oh yeah, there was.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Too much for me to call you the building whisperer, Greg?
I've never been called that before, but let's go with that.
Right.
I think I might be, yeah.
All right, everybody, that's the podcast for today. I hope you appreciated it. This is the first of what I initially set out to do with Advocate Craft, which was interview experts that are involved in litigation that aren't necessarily directly lawyers or paralegals. We'll have more conversations like this, so stay tuned. Thanks for your listening. Take care.
Hey, I have a degree. I'm just amazing. But you know what? No one responded to that shot.